You know what nobody tells you? That it starts with genes. Not a diagnosis, not some dramatic moment where everything changes. Just genes. The same genes you've worn for 3 years. And one morning, they don't button. Not because you gained a ton of weight, not because you stopped going to the gym. They just don't button anymore. And you're standing there in your bedroom, half-dressed, already late, and something happens inside you that is completely out of proportion to a pair of jeans. You sit on the bed. You don't cry. You just sit there. And you feel something that you don't have a word for yet. That's how it starts. Not with a hot flash, not with some textbook symptom you can Google. It starts with a moment so small and so ordinary that you almost miss it. Almost. Except you don't, because your body has been sending you little signals for months now. And this one, this stupid pair of jeans on a Tuesday morning, is the one that finally gets through. And you think, what is happening to me? I remember the first time I woke up at 3 a.m. for no reason. Just eyes open, wide open, heart going a little faster than it should. Nothing happened. No nightmare, no sound. The house was completely quiet, and I was lying there in the dark thinking, okay, go back to sleep. And my brain said, no. My brain had things to do, apparently, at 3 a.m. Very important things. Like replaying that thing I said at work 6 years ago that I handled wrong. Like calculating how many years until my kid leaves for college. Like wondering whether that mole on my shoulder looked different than it did last month. Really important stuff. Can't sleep through that. So I lay there, completely still, so I don't wake my husband, staring at the ceiling. And I thought, is this just my life now? And the answer, I found out slowly over the next year, was kind of yes. The exhaustion is the thing I wasn't prepared for. Not tired. I know tired. Tired is when you need sleep and then you sleep and you feel better. This is different. This is a kind of tired that lives somewhere deeper. You wake up exhausted. You drink your coffee and you feel almost human for about 40 minutes. And then by 2 p.m., you're running on something that isn't energy. It's just momentum, stubbornness, the physical memory of being a person who had energy. And you keep going. Because what else do you do? You show up to school pickup. You answer the emails. You make the dinner. You have the conversation about whose turn it is to call the plumber. And the whole time, there's this part of you that's watching from a little bit of a distance, slightly outside your own life, thinking, I am so tired. I am so tired, and nobody can tell. I have gotten so good at this. The mood stuff hit me out of nowhere. I was not an anxious person. I was the person my friends called when they were anxious. I was calm. That was my thing. And then, somewhere around 39, I started being afraid of things I'd never been afraid of before. Driving at night on the highway, my kids being on a plane, my own heartbeat when it did something slightly unexpected. I became this person who was always slightly braced for something bad to happen. And I didn't know why. I just felt like I was living with the volume turned up too loud on everything. Your doctor will maybe tell you it's stress. Your doctor will maybe not even connect it to hormones, because half the time they don't. They just tell you to try therapy or exercise more, which, okay, thank you, very helpful. I'll add that to the list of things I'm doing while running on 4 hours of sleep and a cortisol level that apparently has decided to just stay elevated indefinitely. The weight thing. Can we talk about the weight thing? Because this one messed with my head more than I expected. I've never been someone who was obsessed with her weight. I've always been pretty normal about food. And then my body just changed. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough that my clothes fit differently. Enough that I looked at myself in a dressing room mirror under those lights and felt something I hadn't felt since I was a teenager. A kind of shame that I thought I'd grown out of. And the worst part? I knew it was irrational. I knew it intellectually. I know that bodies change and that weight doesn't equal worth and all of it. I know all of it. I've said all of it to other women. But I was still standing in that dressing room wanting to cry. Because it's not really about the weight. You understand that, right? It's about control. It's about the fact that you've been doing the same things, living the same life, and your body has just decided to operate by completely different rules now. Without asking, without warning. Just new rules. Figure it out. And you stand there thinking, whose body is this? I started looking at photos of myself from my early 30s differently. I used to look at those photos and notice what I didn't like. My hair, something about how I was standing. Now I look at them and I think, oh, I had no idea. She had no idea how good she had it. And she was still finding things to criticize. I want to go back and shake her. I want to go back and just be her for a day. Feel that easy in a body, without even noticing it. That's the thing. She didn't even notice. We never notice until it's already changing. The brain fog is its own category of terrifying. I'm someone who has always been sharp, quick. I'm good in meetings. I finish other people's sentences. And then I started losing words. Just reaching for a word that I've used 1,000 times and it's not there. Standing in front of someone mid-sentence and the word is just gone. And I'm smiling and buying time, and inside I'm thinking, what is happening to me? And I started doing this thing where I was working much harder to seem the same. To seem like I was still on top of everything. Because I was so afraid of people noticing. Of being seen as less sharp, less capable. Like something had slipped.
You know what I mean? That performance of being fine, you get so good at it. So good at it that sometimes you perform it to yourself. There's a version of this that nobody talks about. The relationship version. Nothing dramatic happened between me and my husband. We didn't fall apart. We still love each other. But there's this distance that appeared that neither of us has exactly named. Because how do you explain to someone who loves you, I don't feel like myself. I'm not sure who I am right now. I'm somewhere in the middle of something, and I can't tell you when it ends or what comes out the other side.
How do you be a partner to someone when you feel like a stranger in your own skin? So you just manage it. You keep the surface smooth. You say you're tired when you're actually something much more complicated than tired. You say everything's fine when fine is the most inaccurate word you know. And he believes you, mostly, because you're convincing. Because you've been convincing people your whole life. Because women learn that early, how to be convincing about being okay. The thing I keep coming back to is this. I had a picture of who I was going to be. Not specific. I wasn't imagining a particular job or a particular body. Just a feeling. A sense of a woman who had figured things out, who was settled in herself, who moved through the world with a kind of ease. And somewhere in these last few years, that image started coming apart. Not catastrophically, just fraying at the edges. And I don't know if I'm supposed to grieve it, or revise it, or just let go of it entirely. Nobody told me there would be grief. That's the thing. Nobody told me that part of what happens in your late 30s and 40s is that you grieve. Not for a person, not for anything you can point to. Just grief. For the version of yourself you thought you were going to be. For the body you thought you understood. For the sleep you can't seem to get back. For the ease that you didn't know you had until it was already leaving. I'm not on the other side of this. I want to be honest with you about that. I'm in the middle of it. Most days, I'm functioning. Most days I'm okay. But okay is doing a lot of work. Okay is covering a lot of ground. And some nights, some 3 a.m. ceilings, okay doesn't quite reach. What I know is this: I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. What's happening to you is real. It's physical. It's hormonal. And it is also, on top of all of that, a genuine identity experience. A genuine reckoning with who you are and who you thought you'd be and what you actually want from whatever comes next. And nobody is talking about it honestly. Nobody is sitting down and saying, this is hard. This is actually really hard. Not in a way that needs fixing or reframing or a 10-step plan. Just hard and lonely and confusing and real. So I'm saying it because I think you needed to hear it from someone who isn't trying to sell you something or fix you or tell you it all gets better. Someone who's just sitting here with you in it. This is hard, and you're not the only one.